Welcome to the HR Spoonfuls podcast, brought to you by Andera HR, the home of Help Desk for HR.com and AI for HRHub.com, where you can find assistance from qualified human resources professionals and learn about all things related to the use of artificial intelligence solutions for your HR department. Now listen in as your AI-driven hosts, Alex and Ivy, discuss interesting and current human resources topics, one spoonful at a time.
Ever heard the one about the software company that almost went belly up because their CEO went on a year-long sabbatical and never came back?
Oh, wow. Sounds like the intro to a business thriller, you know? But I'm guessing this is based in reality.
Sadly, yes. It really is. And I think it's a cautionary tale about what happens when you mistake replacement planning for actual succession planning.
Okay, I see.
Which, speaking of, that's what this training manual you gave us, business succession planning, is all about.
Right. A page turner, it may not be, but I have to say it is packed with insights that, could mean the difference between a smooth transition and total chaos. It really could.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit, maybe for our listeners who might be thinking, succession planning. That's for, I don't know, Fortune 500 companies, right? But this manual argues it's crucial for businesses of all sizes.
Absolutely. And the difference between, like we were saying, between replacement and succession, it's really key. Replacement is like patching a leaky roof. You're just trying to stop the immediate crisis.
Right.
But succession, that's different. That's like designing the entire structure to be weatherproof from the ground up. It's a whole different way of thinking about things.
I love that analogy.
Right.
So walk us through it. What makes succession planning more than just, filling a job vacancy when someone leaves?
It's about cultivating leadership at all levels, I think. Think of it as weaving a safety net into the very fabric of your company. And this manual highlights, actually, this fascinating study. Companies with solid succession plans are 3 times more likely to exceed their financial goals. And not just that, 2.5 times more likely to outperform those who don't.
Whoa, those are some compelling numbers, I have to admit. So it's not just about ensuring a smooth handover if someone leaves. It sounds like, from what you're saying, it's about building a stronger business today.
Precisely. And here's why that resonates with employees, too, I think, knowing there's a plan, a path for their growth makes them more likely to, to stick around. The Center for Creative Leadership, they found that a lack of career development it's a top reason people leave a company. They jump ship.
Makes total sense. When you invest in your people, they're invested in you.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, train people well enough so they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't want to.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
Exactly. And this ties into, another point. The manual stresses minimizing disruption. They cite a staggering statistic. 66% of external senior hires fail within 18 months.
66%. Okay, wow. That's not just a statistic. That's a flashing neon sign saying get succession planning, right?
Right. And think of the cost, the time, the energy wasted on those failed hires. Succession planning is about, it's about cultivating internal talent, folks who already understand your company's culture, the values, all of that.
So you've convinced me succession planning, it's crucial. It's not just, something nice to have if you can get around to it. But where do you even begin? This manual talks about, building a blueprint, starting with a mission statement and a vision statement.
Yeah, it's like laying the foundation, right? Before you go about building a skyscraper, your mission statement is, think of it like your bedrock. It's your why. Why does your company exist beyond, beyond just making a profit? What value do you bring to the world? It's a big question.
Yeah, it's got to be more than just a catchy slogan, right? Like, we've all seen those.
Exactly. A well-crafted mission statement, it resonates, it really does, with both your employees and your customers, actually. It's more than just a slogan, like you said. It's a decision-making tool when you really think about it. It's about guiding your actions and priorities, even when things get tough.
Right. It's got to be able to weather those storms.
This manual, it gives the example, actually, of Patagonia and their mission statement. It really is something else. It's build the best product, cause no unnecessary harm, use business to inspire and implement solutions to the environmental crisis. And, what's interesting is it's deeply woven into, everything they do, really, from the materials they use to the causes they support. It's impressive, actually.
That's a powerful example of a mission statement that, that truly acts as a compass, like you were saying, for the entire company. It's great.
Right. And that kind of leads us to the vision statement. It's the what to the mission's why,
Yeah.
If the mission is your compass, like you said, the vision statement is what's the map? Where are you headed? What does success look like in the long term? That's what that's about.
Okay, so we've got the why and the what. But even with a solid blueprint, you still need skilled craftspeople to build something lasting.
And that's where mentorship comes in. It's a key pillar in this manual's approach to succession planning.
Yeah, I mean, it's about passing on knowledge, right? And experience. All those things, all those intangible things that you can't just put in a job description.
Precisely. And what I find really fascinating about this whole thing is that the manual, it emphasizes mentorship as a two-way street, believe it or not.
Oh, true thing.
It's not just about, senior leaders, imparting wisdom, so to speak, to junior staff. That's part of it, but it's more than that. Everyone has something to teach, I think, and everyone has something to learn too.
I like that. I'm intrigued. So break down this two-way street for us. What makes a mentorship relationship truly successful, especially, in the context of succession planning?
Well, on the mentor side of things, it's about more than just being an expert in your field. It's more than that. It's about being, I don't know, a guide, I guess, a sounding board, someone who listens actively, provides constructive feedback and genuinely champions their mentees' growth, even if it means letting them step outside their comfort zone a little. It's not always easy.
Okay, and what about from the mentee's perspective? What qualities should they kind of bring to the table? What do they need to do to make it work?
It boils down to being an active participant, really, not just a passive recipient of information. You got to be eager to learn, be open to feedback, and don't be afraid to challenge your mentor's thinking respectfully, of course, but still challenge it.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, right, between respect and a willingness to push each other.
Exactly. And this brings us to a crucial element that the manual highlights. It's the importance of conducting a thorough SWOT analysis.
SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah, SWOT analysis is one of those, those business school classics. But how does it apply specifically to something like succession planning? It's an interesting thought.
Right. Well, I think it's about taking a clear-eyed look, I guess, at your company's internal and external landscape. It's a lot to consider, really.
Yeah.
Think of it as those strategic X-rays they do. It's like that. It's revealing those hidden strengths and weaknesses that could make or break your succession plan. They really could.
Okay, so let's break it down a little bit then. Strengths, we all like to focus on those, of course, but this manual, it stresses that it's not about generic pats on the back.
Exactly. It's about identifying what truly differentiates your company. What are you uniquely good at? What sets you apart?
Right. That's a great question.
Is it your company culture? Maybe a specific technology that you've mastered, could be, or maybe it's the deep industry relationships you've built up over decades, even. Whatever it is, it's about pinpointing the core strengths of your successor, whoever that may be. They need to understand it and they need to know how to leverage it. That's what that's all about.
And okay, so what about weaknesses?
Yeah.
Nobody really likes to dwell on those, of course, but this is where the whole X-ray analogy, it really hits home. I think you've got to identify the potential fractures, so to speak, before they become full-blown crises.
Yeah.
It's preventative in a way.
Couldn't agree more. Is high employee turnover a recurring issue? I don't know. Are there bottlenecks in your production process? Maybe your marketing efforts are, maybe they're stuck in the last decade or something. The point is, acknowledging these weaknesses it's crucial, especially when we're talking about something like, succession planning.
Because those weaknesses, if you don't address them,
yeah,
they could snowball on a new leader's watch.
Yeah.
They really could. And that's the last thing you want.
Precisely. And this, this is where the SWOT analysis, it starts to inform your succession plan itself, really. So let's say, for example, your weakness is I don't know, lack of, digital marketing expertise, for example? Wouldn't it be wise to maybe prioritize training or mentorship opportunities in that area, for your potential successors? It's all about being proactive.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, strengths and weaknesses. We've covered kind of the internal landscape of things. What about the external factors, though? The opportunities and threats that could impact how successful your succession plan is down the line.
That's a great point. This is where you have to kind of zoom out a little. You have to look at, I guess, the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What trends are emerging in your industry? Are there new, I don't know, technologies on the horizon that your successor needs to be ready for? This manual actually, it gives this example of a manufacturing company that, well, they failed to properly assess the rise of, 3D printing, and it was a missed opportunity that ultimately cost them their market share. They really dropped the ball on that one.
Wow. It's a stark reminder that the business world waits for no one. And on the flip side, how do you identify the potential threats that are lurking out there?
Well, threats could be, honestly, they could be anything really, from, I don't know, a new competitor with a disruptive business model, maybe, to or even changing regulations that that could impact your industry. The manual, it highlights this. It highlights the importance of what they call scenario planning, basically asking what if and running simulations based on all these different potential threats. It's all about being as prepared as possible.
So, okay, we've got our SWOT analysis. We've got a clear picture of where we stand and what we're up against. But a plan is only as good as its execution. Right. I mean, you could have the best plan in the world, but if you don't put it into action, what's the point?
Absolutely. Absolutely. A plan sitting on a shelf gathering dust, well, it's not going to do anybody any good. That's for sure.
This is where the rubber meets the road, as they say. The manual, it emphasizes the importance of setting SMART goals, which is, that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It's a mouthful. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on how that applies to something like succession planning? I think it would be really helpful to hear.
Sure. It's about turning those grand visions of, smooth transitions and capable leadership into concrete action steps. It's one thing to think about it. It's another thing to actually do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So instead of saying, for instance, we want to develop our leadership bench, which is kind of vague when you think about it, a SMART goal might be something like, by this time next year, we will have identified and provided leadership training to at least 3 internal candidates or something like that.
So it's about making those goals, tangible, something you can actually track and measure progress against.
Exactly. And it's not enough to just set those goals. You need to assign ownership of them too. Who's responsible for each step of this succession plan? What resources do they need to make it happen? What does success look like really at each stage? This manual, it really stresses the importance of clear roles, open communication and ongoing support.
It's a team effort, really. It's not a solo mission by any means.
Precisely. And just like any good team, you need to be able to, to adapt to changing circumstances. That's just the reality. The manual stresses that a succession plan, it's a living document. It's not set in stone.
And it's about being flexible, really. Adjusting your approach based on new information or unexpected challenges, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And that's where strong communication, like we were talking about, it comes in again. Keep your team, keep them in the loop, keep them informed, address any, address concerns head on, and be open to feedback from, from all levels of the organization, really.
So it's not just about, just having a plan. It's bigger than that. It's about creating a culture of, a culture of open communication and mentorship and continuous improvement, really.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
This deep dive has been, it's been incredibly insightful, I think. We've covered a lot of ground, really, from the importance of distinguishing succession planning from just replacement planning, which we talked about earlier, to the all the nitty-gritty, really, of crafting a plan and actually putting it into action. which can be tough.
Right. And let's not forget the power of mentorship, like we talked about.
Yeah.
The importance of that two-way street for knowledge transfer, for leadership development, all of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This training manual, Business Succession Planning, honestly, it offers a wealth of practical advice. It really does. But as we always like to remind our listeners, the real work, it starts now.
It's time to take these insights and actually apply them to your own, to your own unique situation, your own unique business, whatever that may be.
So as you reflect on everything we've discussed today, we'll leave you with this question: what's one concrete action you can take this week to begin building a more resilient future for your company? It's something to think about.
Thanks for listening to HR Spoonfuls. For more episodes like this one, drop by helpdeskforhr.com or AIforHRhub.com and subscribe to our newsletter to receive HR updates and notices when new podcast episodes are posted. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and will join us again soon.